have this section cleaned up so that we could see what was hidden underneath this bondo here. I knew that this truck had been in an accident before, and I knew that at one time or another the door had been folded over. There's a good crease through here. I'm gonna start putting some pins in here and see if we can maybe get some of these dents and creases out of here. I'm gonna start on the top section, see what we got. This is really thick metal, so I don't know how well this is gonna work. This works great on modern day vehicles. On this, I'm not really sure. I usually don't use pin pullers on old vehicles like this, so this is going to be kind of a test run and see how it works. I do have thicker pins that are for the thicker metal, so if the little ones don't seem to do nothing, maybe I'll try the thicker ones and see if that works. And then as a last resort, I run a piece of sheet metal to it, and I pull from the sheet metal with maybe a little heat from the torch. And that should work. That I know should work. So, but let's see if we can get anything pulled out here. Got the wrong tip on it. I got the tip for chrome trim rivets. Try this again. I popped it out pretty good, that one. That was a small dent. But it definitely popped out some. Let's see how this crease does. Okay, now usually when you're working a crease like this, you don't want to try and pull the whole crease out in one shot. Sometimes it pops right out, but if you're having a problem, you work it a little bit down and then start over and work a little bit more and a little bit more. So until it comes out or the pins start popping off. These pins do pop off fairly easy. See, just like that. But I did see it move. I'll move you guys over. I think I'm just standing right in the way of what I'm doing. Hey, how's it going? in where it broke them off it. It's coming right out, so that's good. Now, I don't think that it's gonna straighten out our door issue at all, but definitely less bondo. The bottom part doesn't fun. See if we can get it straightened out. Feels like I hit a piece of metal with it. Oh yeah, I can see. Raining outside today, and it's so humid yesterday and today. Everything is just sweaty, and that's why I don't. I found this out last year. The shop's fairly new to us. A little over a year and a half I've been here. Maybe only a year working actually in the shop. A little over a year. But I found out that it was very humid out here last year. And that's why I don't strip cars down to bare metal right away. I kind of work on them slow. Because I don't want them sitting in bare metal out here just collecting rust. I don't know if you guys can see it in the video, but what I cleaned up last night already kind of has a brown tinge to it. So we'll definitely, it's definitely an upkeep to keep the bare metal clean around here. So I'm not going to strip it until I absolutely have to. It actually folded over so good, it actually split the metal here. So I can still feel we got a dent there. All of this is coming out well. Feels pretty good. I'm gonna put a couple pins right here. Put one in the middle for now and see. I knew those are going to be troublesome areas there. They're rusty in there. good up there. I'm happy with that. Every hit, I'm watching it straight now. I'm watching it move. I'm not trying to overextend it. When you see me hammer out on the top, these pins, when you put these pins in and you pull them and you grind them, you got there's little bumps from every pull you got, and I was just kind of slapping the top of those bumps with the hammer. I don't want to hammer directly on it because there's already, metal has a memory. So when you get a dent in it, you can pop that dent back out. But it's also built a second memory of that dent being there. So if you smack it too hard with the hammer, you're just going to put a dent right back in it. It might not be the same dent that you just pulled out, but that metal is now weaker in that spot. Than it was originally. So I was running my fingers in between each pin because a lot of times when you have a deep crease like that, and you put you're putting all these pins in that crease, and you're slowly pulling that crease back out little by little, and a lot of times when you rub your finger in between here, you still feel the crease in between the pins. Like it pulled the crease out where the pin was, but not in between the pins. And this actually feels pretty good. It feels like it pulled the crease out even in between the pins. That thicker metal is definitely a weird thing to work with. Newer cars, usually what I have to do is once I get these pulled, I have to cut them off and then go in between each spot and put another pin. But I don't think I'm feeling that. It actually, I'm amazed. It actually feels really good just with that little bit of a pull. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get these hammer marks off, but I'm gonna put a pin in one and see if I can get it to come out a little bit. White red air hose. These hammer dents were put in here because the metal was all stretched out and it was probably tin canny, and so they hit it with the hammer to shrink the metal in that area and put strength back in the panel. Oops, must have been rust there. But they hit it with the hammer to put strength back in that area, which is a normal collision thing to do, especially if you don't have the proper tools to shrink the metal back in its original form. I watched it pop out. It's still a dinger there from the tip of the hammer, but it popped the these pins do not like sticking to rust. There was rust in every one of these hammer marks. I had to sandblast out. And even though I sandblasted it out, the metal's not smooth in that little dent. So even though they're popping off like that, I can see the dent popping. So, like I said, the hammer mark's still there. I won't be able to get that because they used a sharp hammer. So there's definitely a sharp indent in the metal. The only way that I'd be able, not that way. The only way I'd be able to get rid of those is be able to hammer and dolly it. And unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of. I felt back there, even if I was to cut the inside open so that I could get to it, there's all this framing structure in there for the hinge, where the hinges now. So there's just way too much work involved to hammer out a couple of dings. I'll pop them out as best as I can this way, and it is what it is. I'm definitely making. Pun intended, but I'm making a dent here and it's making it better, so. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything with these lower ones because it's just too, the metal it's too flimsy because I had to cut open down here for the lower tag. So that feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. I think I'm happy with it. I think I might have to try and see if I can shrink it a little bit. It felt, what I call is pregnant, and it felt pregnant last night before I even started doing the pulling. And I expected that pregnant to get worse as I was pulling this stuff out. It doesn't feel like it got worse, but it's still there. So I'm going to have to try and shrink this pregnant spot. And I do it I use I don't know the technical name for it, a paddle, a slapstick. It's just a different kind of hammer. In the Autobody industry, they're known as a spoon. And usually what we use them for is to spoon gaps and get behind a piece of metal that like behind the door, like if you had a dent in the door, you'd stick this spoon in there and you would pry on the door and you can hammer around it and straighten that door out by using the truck as a bridge, a pressure point. They can also be used for shrinking metal by just slapping it, kind of how I was slapping with that hammer up there, shrinking that metal back in place. Take a picture of. So, and then, hopefully we can slap some of that out of there. Let's see. comes to shrinking metal, you know, I'll be honest, I'm not the greatest at it. You know, I grew up in a garage that did not have Autobody stuff. More of a light mechanics garage. That's what I grew up in. I have a very good friend of mine that kind of taught me the ropes of this and got me my first job in a body shop, and then I just kind of rolled from there. And my glasses fogged up. So I worked in a lot of body shops, but never really on the body side of it. I mean, I helped out if they needed it, but I was always more on the paint and detail side of everything. I worked at a couple of custom shops where I learned, you know, some metal work and how to build, you know, custom dashboards and center consoles and wheel tubs and stuff like that. A lot of it was new metal. It wasn't trying to repair metal, anything like that. It was all just making stuff from new metal. But I kind of learned, you know, a lot of tricks of the trade with working with metal and everything. But a lot of the metal work with fixing dents and damaged areas and cutting out rot and bending new metal and making new patches and everything. A lot of that is self-taught just over the years. A lot of the body shops that I worked at, you know, yeah, I learned a lot in the body shop industry. But in the body shop industry, it's replacing parts, you know, fenders, bumpers, hoods. So a lot of it's just part changing. And then, you know, some of it is dent repair. But, you know, in the auto body industry, you know, it's not like the hot rod industry where you try and get everything perfect. You know, the auto body industry, it's kind of get it good enough and then, you know, and move on. So that finesse, that final finishing touches to where you make everything perfect, I've never really been taught that or shown that. Just kind of have tried learning it on my own, and like I said, by any means, I'm not great at it. So it feels pretty good. I do feel, you know, a couple little bumps. I may slap it with the hammer a couple more times. But this is what in the Autobody industry, we just called it a spoon. And like I said, you know, you use it for sticking in door jambs or fender jambs, you know, on prying on it. That's what we use it for in the Autobody industry. But it's actually a style of hammer. It's curved this way and it's curved this way. And you just kind of, how I was slapping with that hammer, you slap with this too. You don't want to hit it like it's a hammer. You want to just slap with it. And you know, if you have a pregnant area, an area that's kind of bowed out higher than you want, you just want to kind of, you know, slap in that pregnant area in all directions, and you want to try and spread that pregnant area out into the areas. Like I can rub all the way around the outside of this and I can feel that it's straight, but when I rub my hand over this, I can feel that it's kind of humped. So I want to kind of separate that hump. I want to spread it out into the rest of the panel. So I'm just going to slap in all directions. I'm not slapping hard, I'm slapping lightly. And a little bit goes a long way, and you just, you know, you keep working it. So. Like I said, by all means, I'm not perfect at this, but this, you know, from the other videos that I did working on this over here, you know, there was a 1/2 inch of bondo here. I will not have that. It will be very minimal bondo. And I will come in and I will work this panel more once I get this lower panel welded in solid. I think that I got to move this lower panel again. Unfortunately, I know the other day I drilled spot welds in it and was really hoping that was going to be the last time that it went on. But it's the reason that I only spot welded it, because I knew that there was some work that had to go on in this area. But with this new door being changed out, it fits totally different down here on the bottom of the door. So now it's got to get moved. Unfortunately, you know, when I started doing this and I was getting it fit in place, we didn't have these doors, fenders, hood. They weren't here yet. It was just kind of spur of the moment. We found something in the area for sale. We went and picked it up. Well, we did not do anything. He went and picked it up, and I patiently waited. But he, you know, he brought this stuff here, and you know, we weren't expecting it. That other door was damaged, lots of bondo on it, and I put this patch into that door. Now that I have a different door that's not damaged and not full of body work, that panel fits different. And that's why I was kind of waiting to tack that piece in, and you know, it's a good thing I only tacked it in. Had I welded it in solid, we'd be in a different boat. So I can hear the sound of the metal changing. It's getting more of a, I guess I would say like a hollow sound. Like it was kind of hard slaps before, like not that I was slapping hard, but like the sound on the metal. It had more of a hard, tinny sound. And now if you listen, it has more of like slapping on the side of a 5-gallon bucket sound. And it's because I'm moving this metal around. It feels right here in the center right here. I mean, it's almost perfectly straight across. Down here in the lower section, I can feel that it's kind of sucked in a little bit. I'm trying to push the metal down into that area. It should puff that area back up. I can still feel it's humped a little bit here at the top. So I'm going to keep pushing this metal down, and hopefully, you know, it'll start to fill up in this area down here. But again, this patch panel is now welded in down here. I can't get crazy with pushing metal down here at the bottom until this gets welded in. So I'm I'm just trying to get this section, this midsection here, feeling pretty good. Really nice if I could get back there with the dolly while I'm doing this, because then these little dings where they hit with the hammer, I would be able to start working those out, and those would flatten out, but I can't get back there. So like I stuck my hand back there, there's like a spot like this big I could get my hand in, and there's a spot down here like this big I could get my hand in. There's all this bracing through the metal. Feels pretty good. Got strength back in it. I mean, this is it's a good strong panel. Now I'll just have to work this bottom a little bit once I get it welded in, but that crease is gone. The hump's gone. Feels good. I am happy with that. So you'll see me in another video working that a little bit more once I get that patch all welded in. Just some 80 grit on here, just more to clean it up, make it look. Flashing in the direction that I want to move the metal, I can feel that there's a slight low spot up here in this corner. Now I may not be able to get this small low spot out because there's a super strong structure right here. You can see that it's welded here. I don't know if that's from the factory or if that's from somebody else's previous work that it's welded here, but you can see that the body line is off from this side, from the top to the bottom, it's off. It could be like that from the factory. These things were, these were made by, hardworking men, not machines. So nothing's perfect on these vehicles. I actually had, I don't think you can see it in the video, but in previous, I didn't think you guys can see it there either. Switch over. So in one of the previous videos, up at the top hinge, everything was pushed way over this way. And I actually welded a plate on here, and I heated the metal up, and then I pulled towards the back of the truck with my side hammer, and I pulled this door gap back straight, because the door gap actually went like this. So I pulled it back nice and straight, and at the bottom, I knew that I was going to have to pull down there as well. When I put this patch in, I got rid of probably like 3/4 of that damaged area by putting this patch in. But I knew like the top quarter section, I was going to have to pull this way with it, and I've got to do that. The next step is probably going to be pulling off the door and moving that over some. I got to move it over before I weld it. But just from pulling out this crease and working out this pregnant area that's in here, or was in here, I can see, like, I'm sticking out enough that I can fit probably a few of my fingernails up underneath this gap, and it wasn't like that before I started. That's how much I moved the metal around. That was actually caved in, and I didn't even go down here and pull anything. You know, my lowest pin was probably 1 inch above my cut line. And that's just how much me just moving this metal around, it puckered all that out, and you can see exactly where I have to pull that way now. And where it's all puckered out there, when I pull that way, it'll flatten out. So I think that's going to be, my next move is going to be probably pulling this door off again. I think this will be number 5 that I pulled the door off. Like I said, I'm probably going to do it 10 times per side, if not more. So I'll pull this door off. I'll weld the plate in here. I'll pull this over a little bit. I shouldn't have to heat it this time because it's cut here. It's cut open. This metal's loose and flimsy now. So I should just be able to pull it over. I shouldn't have to use any heat. And then I'm probably going to pull the fender off again, which I think this is number 4 or 5 of pulling the fender off. And I'm gonna trim a little bit off the top edge of this panel, and I'm actually going to twist the panel just a little bit, probably like a 16th, and maybe it's probably just going to be the width of my Sawzall blade. I will probably cut through about halfway and just slide this front section up just a hair, because it does it gets a little tight. We have a nice 1/4 inch gap going all the way down the door, and then it gets down to little fatter than 1/8 at the corner of the door. And that just tells me that this panel just needs to shift up just a hair. So, and also another thing was when I was putting this fender on, right in the corner of the fender where the fender meets this new patch panel, it fits fine. It just seemed a wee bit tight. And by me shifting that panel up a little bit, it should ease up on that gap. I'm not trying to open the gap. It is supposed to be a nice, clean, tight gap there. It just seemed a little tight to my liking. So, you know, I don't want to be going to bolt this thing all together, and it's just chewing the paint, the new paint up, trying to bolt stuff together. So, I have decided that, you know, after working on this thing and pulling the doors and pulling the hood and pulling the fenders, this thing is brutal to take apart and put back together. It's absolutely brutal. There is no way that I can paint this entire truck beautifully and then put it together without chipping and scratching stuff. It's just, I can't do it. Maybe there's some people out there that can do it. I can't. This thing is just brutal to take apart and put together. The hood has a brace at the back that the hinges hook to, and it has a brace at the front that the hood latch connects to. Other than that, it's just sheet metal. I mean, the hood is just flimsy and all over the place. And, you know, these fenders are so big and they flex and they move around and they connect in so many areas. And I just don't see how people can, it just seems crazy to me, and I'm only one person. I don't have, you know, 5 people here helping me try and put a fender on. So, you know, probably what I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably going to paint a lot of the stuff while it's apart, and then I'm going to put it all back together, and then I will probably paint the entire outside of the truck in one shot. The bed I will have, you know, the bed I can take the bed on and off, not easily. I need people to help me do that, but the bed doesn't touch anything. It does not touch the cab. So there's nothing that connects from the cab to the bed. So I can paint the bed separately, and I can paint the front half of the truck separately, and then put those two together. But as far as like doing the doors and whatnot, like I'm gonna get it all jammed out and put the door on, and then we'll paint the outside. Same thing with like the fenders and the hood. Like I'm gonna get everything jammed, I'm gonna put it together, and then we're gonna paint the outside, you know, outside of everything. And that way, because I just know I'm just gonna be bumping into stuff and banging stuff and chipping and scratching stuff. And you know, newer cars, I don't know, newer cars are not like that. I can take apart a newer car, paint everything, put it all back together, without damaging anything. You know, I mean, mistakes do happen. You do get a chip or a scratch here or there, and I gotta go back and make a repair to it. But you know, that very seldom happens on new cars. This thing, you know, especially this Jeep, I'm not a Jeep person. I don't know much about them, but I know just from taking this thing apart and putting it together, there's no way I can do it without scratching something or chipping something, and I can see it happening on every panel. So it is definitely going to get jammed out, put together. We'll tape everything off as well as possible, and then, you know, we'll paint the whole thing as a complete truck. So that way it's all put together and it's done when I paint it. So it'll look good regardless. It's just I'm not even going to mess around with it. So, but that's it. I think that's good for now on this piece. Like I said, I think I'm going to move forward with making some adjustments down on this lower piece, and then we got to do this fender where, you know, I'm going to be cutting this fender into a couple pieces and moving some stuff around to not only make it fit better, but to make it look better. I explained yesterday that there's this huge gap right here on the fender that goes up underneath the hood that you can literally stick your fingers in underneath the hood. That is not on the passenger side. We have 3 trucks here, two pickup trucks that are identical, and then this front end that came off of a Suburban, and they're all like that. My buddy that owns the truck said that he's been looking online, and he said about 50% of the trucks he sees online are like that. So either it came out of a manufacturing area like that, because there wasn't a whole lot of these vehicles made if you look into them. Not of this year at least. I think there was only a few thousand of them made. So, you know, one manufacturing spot may have just had an issue with a stamp or something that was going on there, the building crew, whatever, and it just happened on a certain number of vehicles where it's just off over here. Or somebody, it bothers other people just like it's bothering us, and people are going in and fixing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fix that. But that will be after I straighten out this door jamb down here and hopefully once again for the last time, put this cab corner in. We will see. So I am out. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. I had fun making it. Remember, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. A lot of other projects posted there. So I'm out.
Oop.